WXLW could be placing a $20,000 call at any second. Joe Pickett could be picking up the phone and calling you for $20,000. Make sure you have WXLW written down next to your telephone, because if WXLW's Joe Pickett calls you and you have WXLW written down, you'll be $20,000 richer. $20,000. Any second now. $20,000 from WXLW. At any second, Joe could be calling you.
WXLW. Write it down. $20,000. WXLW wants to give you $20,000.
The capital city.
7:30 with Bill Shirk at WXLW, and WXLW's Joe Pickett will be placing a $20,000 phone call after this record. After this record, Joe Pickett will be placing a call for $20,000 on WXLW.
WXLW.
7:32 at WXLW, and the moment has arrived. We have Joe Pickett with us here in the studios, and Joe, you're going to be placing that call for $20,000 now.
Right now is the time. And I don't know about the folks out there, Bill, whether they're nervous or not. And I've made a lot of cash phone calls in my day, but this is the biggest phone call for the most money that any radio station, local radio station, has ever made. That's for sure, right?
That's for sure, Joe. And we'd like to say a special thanks to all the listeners who have participated in this. And we know it's been a, kind of a long ordeal, I guess you might say, but we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to register. And then also we wanted to make sure that everybody that registered knew well in advance when we would be placing this $20,000 call. That's why we took a long time in placing it, because we wanted to make perfectly clear to everybody who is registered that they know when we're going to be placing that call, so they will be able to, be at home so they can possibly win the $20,000. You got the name there?
So here we go, friends.
$20,000. Let's say one thing, Joe. If you're listening and you've entered, please have WXLW written down next to your telephone. Every telephone in the house. Here goes that $20,000 call. Joe?
If you're talking to Aunt Susie, hang up, friends. All right. So here we go, and we're calling right now. And if I ever wanted to dial a number correctly, this is it. All right. And now...
There it is, Joe.
There it is. The number has been called.
9 rings.
We'll let 9 rings go by, and there's the first one. And we'll let 9 go by. There's ring number 2. Are you nervous?
Hello.
Hello there. Is this the Keller residence?
Yes, it is.
I have a question for you, Mrs. Keller.
Oh, you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have WXLW written down by your telephone?
Yes, I do.
Mrs. Keller, you have just won $20,000.
Oh, you're kidding.
Would I kid you, Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
$20,000.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding, Mrs. Keller. May I have your address?
I hear somebody laughing.
No, we're laughing with joy for you. You better start laughing. Honestly, you've won $20,000.
This is Joe Pickett you're talking to on the telephone. You're live on the air here at WXLW, and you called in and registered, correct?
You don't sound like Joe Pickett.
Believe me, Mrs. Keller, this is old Joe.
No.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Keller. It really and honestly is. And may I have your address?
506 Pine Matthews.
That's right. And your telephone number?
784-0391.
You're exactly right. Now, Mrs. Keller, we're not kidding you. This is old Joe Pickett, and you have won $20,000.
Oh, I can't believe that.
I got a question for you.
Yes?
How do you have WXLW spelled down next to your telephone? How do you spell that?
Just WXLW.
That's all it took, isn't it?
Yes?
Mrs. Keller, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I can't believe that's who it is.
It really and honestly is, Mrs. Keller. Honest, to goodness it is.
It is?
It honestly is. I wouldn't kid you. You're a winner of $20,000.
That's $5,000 a year for the next 4 years.
Did you know Margaret Brockhausen?
Margaret Brockhausen.
Yes.
I remember going to school with a person named Brockhausen.
Well, Well, that's my sister-in-law.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, this lady has just won $20,000, and she wants to talk about Margaret Brockhouse.
What are you going to do with that $20,000?
Oh, dear, I don't know.
Now, do you really believe it's us, Mrs. Keller?
I do.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm getting weak.
Now she's getting weak. After 4 minutes, she's beginning to get weak.
Oh.
Come on, Miss Keller, tell us a little bit about yourself now.
Well, I don't know. My husband's a school teacher.
Where does he teach?
He teaches at Tech High School.
Is he home right now?
Yes, he is.
Put him on the phone there for just a second, will you? Now, by golly, I wonder if Fred will believe it. Frederick Keller.
Joe?
Yeah, Fred.
I can't hardly believe this thing.
Now, you really believe it's old Joe now, Mr. Keller?
Dude, Joe, I listen to you every morning on the way to school. And, before 7 o'clock.
Right.
And I've been listening to this. This morning he says that's call be placed today by Joe Pickett.
Yeah, and here we are. Fred, when did you register?
I just laughed at, huh?
When did you register?
Oh, about a minute after you made it legal.
Is that right? Well, it paid to get in there, right? Now, what are you going to do with the money? Fred, may I ask you that? You and Mrs. Keller.
Well, I don't know. Joe, we're getting up pretty close to retirement age.
Do it tomorrow.
I'm in handy for that.
That's for sure. May I ask your age? I don't want to be too personal, but...
I'm 57.
And how about Mrs. Keller?
56.
Well, we're so happy for any children.
We have 2 grown children, one in New York City, he's a musician, and another boy that's an engineer for Carrier Corporation in Syracuse.
Well, you're going to be a pretty popular fellow out at Tech High School, I bet, Mr. Keller.
Oh, I just can't hardly believe it, Joe.
That's Well, what did you think when we were talking to Mrs. Keller? Did you think somebody was pulling your leg or kidding or that sort of thing?
We've got a lot of jokester friends, and something like this, Joe, we just figured that one of our good buddies called us up and kidded us. Because she's been telling people about it, and saying, yeah, listen to it. And she says, well, they may call us one of these days.
Now, who made the call to register, you or Mrs. Keller?
Mrs. Keller did.
And what did you tell her? Oh, we'll never win anything like this, huh?
Well, first she had it just on a piece of masking tape, and she stuck it on the back of the phone here.
What did she have on the masking tape?
WXLW.
Well, Fred, this is going to be one of the happiest days of your life, I'm certain, right?
Oh, that's for sure. It's just unbelievable, Joe.
Now it's beginning to sink in a little bit.
Beg pardon?
I say it's beginning to sink in a little bit right now, huh?
Yeah, it is. I guess I'm going to have to make another pot of coffee to recover.
You're going to need more than that, old friend. And now, again, what do you think you really do with the money? I know it's going to take a little time to decide. That's a lot of money, $20,000.
Oh, you better believe it, but I think we'll give our children some. They're both very needy and very deserving. They've been great kids to have, so I might as well help both of those a little.
I tell you what, Fred, can you tell us exactly? Your address is 5069 Matthews.
5069 Matthews.
Now, where is that exactly located?
Matthews is the first street east of Madison Avenue, 5000 South.
5000 South.
Yeah, Matthews Street is the street that runs in the back gate of Longacre Park.
Now, how long have you been a teacher out at Tech?
I've been there 9 years.
And now you're thinking about retiring, and here's a good way to go out.
Sure won't hurt, will it?
Well, can we talk to Mrs. Keller just a moment again, Fred?
Sure can. She's recovered now.
She's recovered. She's all set to go. Okay. There's Frederick Keller.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Keller.
Oh, dear, I'm thrilled to death.
Now do you believe it's old Joe?
Yeah, I do now.
Well...
Yeah, I've been listening to you so long. Listen to your morning.
Well, now, Miss Keller, what do you think you'll do with the money? We talked to Fred, and, he said it's going to help the kids out.
Well, we'll probably give each of our children $1,000 for...
Well, that sounds so nice. You sound like a mighty fine parent.
And I don't know what we'll do with the rest of it.
Well, I tell you, maybe we can get you down on the program a little later. Maybe one day next week when it's all settled down and, okay? And again, congratulations, Mrs. Keller, to you and your husband.
Thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. I just still can't believe it.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll be in contact with you, Mrs. Keller, so we'll be calling you here in about the next 10 minutes or so, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, there it is, Bill. Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Keller of 5069 Matthews winning $20,000.
And remember, Joe, we got something else we got to tell the folks, WXLW gave you $20,000, and WXLW is going to give them something else, Joe, right?
Pray tell, Bill, what?
We've got something else that we're going to give them. And all you got to do is stay tuned to WXLW and they'll find out, Joe.
Oh, that's right. We got a lot of big things coming to this radio station. You know, we're so happy for the Kellers winning the $20,000. And this also, the $20,000 led to the Tornado Relief Fund, as you recall. A lot of people benefited from that. And we hope and we thank all the folks who took time. We know it took time and patience to call in and register and stay with us out throughout the day and throughout the weeks. You know, we've been promoting this. And we hope we've made a lot of friends with folks out there, and they'll stay tuned to WXLW from here on in because we got a lot of exciting big things planned for this radio station, right?
You know, it's kind of amazing. When you look back a year and a half ago, Joe, we were the last radio station in the market, and we moved all the way up to number 4. And we're just doing more and more for our audience, and the higher we get with listeners, the more listeners we get, the more we can do for our audience, you know?
That's right, and they're the greatest people in the world out there, right?
That's right. Let's end it on that note, Joe.
Okay, and congratulations once again to Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Keller of 5069 Matthews, winner of $20,000.
Right on there.
$20,000.
WXLW Indianapolis.